He never saw her face, never got her name, but the woman who pulled his drowning son from the lake would come back into his life, when he least expected it. It happened on the last warm day of fall. Daniel was packing up after a family picnic by Lake Harlan, folding blankets, stacking plates, calling out for his son, Luke, who'd been tossing rocks near the water's edge. The lake had always been safe, calm, surrounded by families and laughter. But in the space of a single heartbeat, that calm shattered. Someone screamed. Daniel spun around and saw his son's tiny figure struggling in the water, arms flailing, head barely above the surface. He dropped everything and ran, but he was too far, too slow. And then, out of nowhere, a woman broke through the crowd and dove straight in, fully clothed. No hesitation. The lake was freezing, but she moved like she'd done it 100 times. Within seconds, she reached Luke, pulled him up with both arms, and kicked hard toward the shore. By the time Daniel reached them, she was already lifting Luke into his arms. The boy coughed and cried, alive, shaken, but okay. Daniel looked up to thank her, to say something, anything. But she was already walking away, drenched, blending into the crowd. "Wait," he called. She didn't stop, didn't turn, just vanished. And for the next 2 years, Daniel never stopped thinking about her, the woman who'd saved his son and disappeared like a ghost. Until one rainy evening, he walked into a diner on the outskirts of town, and sitting at the far corner booth, serving coffee to a pair of elderly women, was her. Daniel froze in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, his breath caught halfway in his chest. It was her, the same calm eyes, the same quiet strength in her shoulders. She looked thinner now, tired maybe, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, apron smudged with coffee stains. But he'd never forget that face. He stepped forward, slowly, like approaching a miracle. She didn't notice him at first, just poured refills with a small, practiced smile. When she turned toward him, her eyes met his, and for a moment neither of them said a word. "You," he said softly. "It was you, wasn't it? At the lake, 2 years ago." She blinked, startled, but didn't deny it. Her hands tightened slightly around the coffee pot. "You saved my son." People in the diner glanced up, sensing something unusual. The woman's voice was quiet. "He was just a boy. I couldn't let him drown." Daniel stepped closer. "You disappeared before I could even thank you. You just walked away." "I didn't do it for thanks," she replied, eyes lowering. "And I wasn't supposed to be there. Why not?" She hesitated, then nodded toward the kitchen. "My break was over. I was working. I'd snuck away to clear my head, and then I saw him." Daniel stared, struggling to hold back emotion. "You saved his life. That moment, it changed everything." She gave a small, almost apologetic smile. "I was just in the right place at the right time." "No," Daniel said, shaking his head. "You were meant to be there." Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a photograph, a picture of Luke, now older, standing beside a blue ribbon science project. "He still talks about the woman from the lake. He calls you the brave lady. Says one day he's going to find you and give you a medal." Her lips parted in shock. "He remembers?" "Every second." She looked away, blinking fast. Daniel spoke again, gently. "What's your name?" She hesitated for a long moment. "Rachel." He smiled. "Rachel. I've been looking for you for a very long time." Rachel stood frozen, coffee pot still in hand. The name she had hidden behind for years was finally spoken out loud. Not by someone who judged her, not by someone from her past, but by a man whose child she'd once saved without thinking. Daniel lowered his voice, sensing how fragile the moment was. "I thought you were a dream. That maybe I imagined the whole thing." Rachel set the pot down and slipped into the booth across from him. "I thought about that day a lot too. But I didn't come forward. I didn't want attention." "You deserve more than attention," Daniel said. "You gave me back my son, and then vanished like some angel in jeans and sneakers." She smiled, the first real one since he arrived. An angel with overdue rent and a night shift. They both laughed, and something in the air eased. He looked at her, really looked. "Can I ask something personal?" Rachel nodded slowly. "Why were you working out there that day? You said you weren't supposed to be at the lake." She sighed, fingers tapping the table. "I just left everything. A bad marriage, no money, no plan. I took whatever job I could find in the middle of nowhere. That day I needed air. I almost didn't go out. But something pushed me." Daniel leaned forward. "That something saved my son." Just then, the diner bell rang as a customer walked in. Rachel started to stand, but Daniel touched her hand gently. "Come meet Luke. Please. Let him know who you are. Let him thank you himself." She paused. "I wouldn't know what to say to him." "You don't have to say anything. Just be there." Her eyes softened. "When?" "Tomorrow? Dinner? Our place? No crowds? No pressure?" Rachel hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." Outside, the rain had stopped, and for the first time in 2 years, something unfinished had found its way back to the beginning. The next evening, Rachel stood on the porch of a quiet house, holding her breath. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the doorbell, but before she could press it, the door swung open. Luke stood there, now 9, hair slightly messy, wearing a t-shirt with a hand-drawn lake and the words, "My hero's out there," written in marker. He blinked up at her, eyes wide. Rachel smiled gently. "Hi, Luke." He stared for a second, then whispered, "You're her." Daniel stepped behind him. "Go on, buddy." Without a word, Luke stepped forward and wrapped his arms tightly around Rachel's waist. No fanfare, no questions, just a hug, like he'd been waiting years to give it. Rachel knelt, tears already filling her eyes. "You're taller than I remember." He looked up and said, "I knew you'd come back." That night, over dinner, they didn't talk about drowning or rescues or fate. They talked about favorite foods, comic books, and how Luke wanted to be a marine biologist now, because water isn't scary anymore. After dinner, Daniel walked Rachel to her car. The sky above was soft and quiet, stars just beginning to show. "I've never seen him so at peace," he said. Rachel looked down. "I didn't do much." Daniel turned to her. "You saved him, and you gave him courage he still carries every day. That's everything." She hesitated, then asked softly, "Why did you wait all this time to find me?" He smiled. "Because I wasn't just looking to say thank you. I was waiting for the right moment to ask." Rachel's breath caught. "If you'd like to stay in our lives, not just for Luke, but for me too." Her eyes filled again, but this time she didn't hide them. She nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." The porch light flicked on behind them as Luke peeked through the window, grinning like he already knew what was happening. And in that moment, the woman who once disappeared into a crowd finally found where she belonged.